second edition of Renaissance. This week's topic, or this episode's topic, will be the art of AI prompts, leveraging technology for SEO excellence. My name is Andy Blason, and I am the co-founder of JBH, the digital PR and SEO agency. Co-hosting with me today is Andy Holland. He is the director of SEO at JBH. And joining us is Tom. Tom, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Tom Winter. I'm one of the co-founders at SEOwind, which is a tool to help you out with writing AI articles and doing the whole research using AI. And I'll be sharing as much knowledge as I can on all the questions that both Andys will ask regarding AI prompting.
Awesome. Tom, thanks for coming along today, and it's great to have you with us. Just a reminder to those in the chat, we do have a poll running, so please feel free to put your vote onto that poll, and we'll have a look at that at the end of the webinar. Also, if you have any questions, please post those into the questions tab in the chat. If we get some time at the end, we will try to fire these off to Tom as well and try and answer as many of those questions as possible. So today's webinar, like I say, is the art of AI prompts, leveraging technology for SEO excellence. Mastering the skill of crafting effective prompts is crucial for enhancing the user experiences and driving traffic, organic traffic online. So without further ado, we will jump into some questions now and start firing them off to Tom. So Tom, first question over to you. What are AI prompts, and how are they different from traditional content generation methods?
So, like, in my opinion, even though that people think that they're a lot different from the traditional ways of writing articles, I think they're not that different. If you think about the process of building content, you have to define the subject, you have to do the research, and you have to write the article. And it's just the same with AI. But the problem is that we forget often about the research part, because AI will not do the research part for us. So when we're handling over a certain topic to a human, the human, first of all, they can do the research part on their own. Second of all, they learn on the things that they're good doing on the go. So if you tell them once that your company does this and this, the second time you don't have to repeat. So this is the main difference. Like, you often have to put in the knowledge into AI to help out to define exactly what you want, because it will not read your mind. You have to exactly define what kind of outcome do you want, and the better you will define it, the better the outcome you will get. So basically, the AI prompt is the definition of the outcome that you're counting on. And this is how you have to look at it. In marketing world, we had briefs in marketing. I don't know if all of you remember writing a brief, for example, for a logo. This is exactly AI prompt. It's just the same, defining for an agency that you send the brief to, what do you want? What are the outcomes? What are your goals? What kind of things you want to be represented by the logo, and so on. So the same thing goes with AI content. You have to define exactly how you want it to be defined.
Brilliant, great answer. You say AI doesn't read our minds yet. Maybe one day.
Cool. Hey, so Tom, great to see you again. You know, I'm a big fan of SEOwind and what it can do. We've had conversations. In fact, to be honest with you, some of our conversations, you've actually steered me into better quality prompting, if I'm honest with you, you know, when we've been chatting. And so I want to ask you, and this is going to help the audience, because it's helped me massively to get better prompting. How long should a good AI prompt be? And just how much information do you think should go into it?
The answer is simple and very complicated, because I would say as much as is needed. You have to define exactly what you want. As I mentioned in the previous question, AI will not do the research for you. So you have to do research for AI. And just consider, AI training data is massively big. Like, it's basically the whole internet. So if you don't define exactly what you want from AI, you will get, it will have to read your mind. So it will give an answer that is most probable answer for a specific topic, but it doesn't mean that it will read, for example, search results and will not read search intent from Google, will not understand that. So the more data we will put in, the more quality data we will get out of it. Like, I'm a semi-developer, I would say. So we had a term for years, garbage in, garbage out. And it's just the same with AI. So in my opinion, when I'm doing prompts, in my opinion, AI prompts is 1% ask and 99% knowledge in. So if I go to LinkedIn and I see my best SEO LinkedIn prompts for certain thing, and then I see a two-liner, like, I know that they're not giving any input into that. This is like basically the ask. So write me an outline for this and this keyword. So the key thing here is to add value into AI. Sometimes we, for example, we add like 10 pages of input in a prompt. So for every 3,000 words that we write 7,000 words in the prompt. And just consider that even if you have a limit of 32,000 tokens in GPT right now, so it's about 27,000 words, more or less. Consider giving even 20, 30 pages of context to AI. How is it compared to the whole data set that it was trained on? So like 20, 30 pages of content is nothing compared to the whole internet. So like, it's so contextual that it can read it through and understand better what exactly do you want. So the more data you will put in, the better the output will be. Like, in my opinion, don't ask yourself, is it too much? Ask yourself, did you add enough? Like, if you will go overboard, that's okay. In my opinion, like, it's better to add more because it's far more contextual than like the whole ideas that AI was trained on.
Cool. I mean, it's interesting because months ago we spoke and you talked about the length of prompts, and I started experimenting on my own things and noticed immediately the more detailed it was. And in the end, I found, for those that don't know, online, I used to be a police officer and used to have to find prepare crime files for the Crown Prosecution Service. And in many ways, that was all about writing out a crime file that explained the circumstances to somebody who was very, very well trained in law, for them to make a decision on whether we were going to prosecute somebody and how they were going to proceed. So you had to have it in a certain order. It had to have its certain points. It had to be descriptive. It had to. You couldn't put fluff in there because you were trying to very often ask for an output from the solicitor, a decision, which would change somebody's life potentially. And there's quite a lot of, it's quite serious in nature. What I found is when I create prompts which are in that similar process, which is by step, giving background information, asking what they want, asking for what I wanted to do, giving it supplementary information such as to do things in a certain way, the output is far, far vastly better. And even what I've started doing is when I ask it for an output, what I'll do is I say stop after this section so I can check it. And then I go back and check that section, and I'm finding, okay, well, it's done a really good job, but let's do it this way before we move on to the next. But because I put so much detail into the original prompt, it knows all the process and is just reviewing the process. Now, I have noticed sometimes it seems to forget, especially if you go away and come back to the chat screen. So that it is quite interesting. But I do find longer, more detailed prompts, but not fluff as well. So you've got to give it actionable information and tell it exactly what you want. Otherwise, it can be very vague and it does things in a certain way that it might think are best for the subject matter. And also, I have to say this, Tom, this is quite interesting in terms of, we all know as people involved in SEO how much fluff there is in SEO. There's so much content fluff out there, padded out. It's sometimes bringing me back content when I'm playing around with it, and I'm thinking, do you know what? That's actually to the point. It's bang on, but the inner writer in me wants to sort of not kill my darlings and sort of say, oh, that needs padding out and romanticizing. But in actual fact, what the tool's done is give you exactly what content you need. It's just done in a way that you wouldn't normally expect as a human to read, but you can extract the information. It's actually put it in a faster format. So I think there's a lot of machine interpretation. It's sometimes giving you things that we're not used to reading in certain styles as well. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes on with a lot of the programmatic SEO out there and a lot of the topical authority out there that's going on in terms of the zero fluff content might become a growing trend in SEO.
It can.
And yeah, so there you go.
So if I can actually add to Rudiger's question, because he asked if to use the custom instructions. Yes, like basically this is the same with humans. So if you tell a human once, they learn on top of that. With AI, it's a little bit different. Like you have to, every single time you have to repeat the same thing. So if you use these custom instructions, these are the things that you will repeat every single time. So for example, tone of voice, information about your product, information about your company. Like this should be included in the prompt. If you do it using custom instructions, you don't have to put it into the prompt, but it doesn't mean that it's not in the prompt. It is. It's in custom instructions.
Yeah, I found that, by the way, as well, in terms of before custom instructions was launched. I've only just got access to it, to be honest with you. But I've got like prompts. I'm building myself a prompts database. So prompts, long prompts. I mean, some of them are about 5,000 words, which I'm using to. But every time I ask it to do the same task, I put the prompt in, in a different chat. It's just so we get the same results. And I'm learning prompt optimization might become a thing as well, in terms of you've got search engine optimization. Prompt optimization might become a thing, because over time, better prompts, you can iterate them as well. So you've actually, to be fair, Tom, you've really helped me a lot in my prompting journey, so thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. So the takeaways from that, obviously treating, speaking to AI, like writing a brief is a great sort of way to sort of, start to begin to targeting how to prompt. Giving it more information than it needs is also a fantastic tip. So thanks for that, Tom. In the last episode of the Renaissance, we talked around the fears of AI and how people were trying to integrate it. Some people were pushing back on it. Some were unsure about how it would work with their flow. So in regards to the fears around AI, how can SEO professionals cohabit with AI for a more harmonious relationship?
So first of all, they have to understand, like, this is something that we talked before the webinar. Like, I feel that humans and AI, they have superpowers. Like, both sides have really superpowers. But like the idea of coexisting, like within this situation, we have to help each other. Like, there's no way of AI taking over our jobs, or there's no way of fighting AI. Like, we have to like work together and find our superpowers, and this combination of two sides will lead into even better results. 1 + 1 equals more than 2. But we have to understand that we can help out as super matter experts. Like, we can steer AI into right directions. We can help out with the whole strategy and everything else. Like, when AI is far better than us in reading materials. Like, a lot of people say like AI hallucinates. Yes, it hallucinates like every other person on earth as a human. Like, if I ask all of you, what's the percentage of people drinking coffee in UK, you will give me an answer. Will it be a right answer? No, it will be a hallucination. It will be more or less 80%, but it's not data. Like, you've read a lot of different data points, like that somebody did a research and said like somewhere between 75 and 85, and you're making up the answer based on the data that you saw so far. And the same goes with AI. Like, when you provide the information to AI, it hallucinates a lot less. So the cooperation between AI and us, it's based on like how we can work with AI as humans, and AI is glad to help us out. Like, it's like a little puppy. Like, it's always happy to help us out. Like, we just need to ask a question and it answers, always answers. We need to find ways of increasing our productivity using AI, and there is no way back.
No, interesting. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Great answer. Great answer.
I think this next question, Tom, is going to be a big one. I think, if the audience, I'm right in saying, is we've got quite a few SEOs on here, and I know we've had something in the chat already talking about quality of content and ranking. So here's the thing: do you know of any successful AI content case studies where AI content's been used and it significantly ranked a website? And I'm going to sort of segue into this a little bit. I think lots of people using AI that aren't talking about it or telling about it. But do you know of any successful AI case studies out there that people could either go and look at or you can discuss?
So like basically for the reason you've mentioned, like I can discuss, we've created a case study based on, we thought like, let's do a 30-day challenge where we will post about 100 AI articles just to prove like if they work, if they don't work. To be honest, it was a bit scary at the beginning because like we ramped up like the amount of articles by tenfold at least, which is a lot. Like just for this reason, Google could ban us. And we tested out like how we can work with AI content based on our tool, because we have a tool to AI write articles. And we got within 30 days 77% growth in organic traffic. I was looking for case studies online, and to be honest, there's not many case studies with like showing exactly data and showing Google Search Console. There's a lot of people being afraid of AI. I'm not saying no. There's a lot of people saying out loud on LinkedIn that if you create AI content, you'll be banned off the internet, because right now all the algorithms updates are focused on AI content. In my opinion, that's not true. Like I saw it from my perspective, what's being targeted is not helpful content. And this is the biggest problem that I see. Both, like I have access to many Google Search Consoles, and I see that many companies that had nothing to do with AI got hit just because like that they're not building AI content on, or they didn't change anything in their approach. So basically, that's my idea. That's my answer for that.
Yeah, it's pardon me. It's interesting that is. So we got Ahmad has made a comment in a question in here talking about how can you ensure that the output can help his blog rank. Okay, so I'm going to sort of say that there are three types of AI content that I see quite a lot, or in terms of content, full stop. So you have the it comes out, it's the content which answers the questions that matches the search intent quite well, which is, you know, you want to, I call it expected content. If you want to know about your tax, you know, your duties, what are my tax obligations, or how do I reduce my tax bill and things like that, then you would want quite formatic expert answers that just pull the data together. You don't want fluff, you don't romanticize, you're not after an experience, you just want this information out there. Now AI, I think, does that really well. It's expected content, and I think it can bring information and from all its sources it's trained on and put it into a really great format. There's another kind of content that AI produces, which is almost like a little bit of fantasy sort of content. It's opinions, and you can craft opinion content quite easily with AI. For example, um, it's such and such versus such and such. Now it's not necessarily their opinion, in terms of, because it doesn't have an opinion. It's just taking data points, and you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with that, and it can help you produce that kind of content. And the final kind of content that I think AI, this is where we aren't discussing, is I call it like the backlinko style content. I'm calling it content that is really, really detailed. It's frameworks. It's the idea being that it's actually doesn't just rank. It's actually written for humans to say, "Oh wow, that was amazing." Now AI can be used to help with that, but it's not as straightforward, and also that content itself doesn't always match search intent necessarily great. It's creating content that wasn't there before. So I think, to comment on Ahmad's post, I don't think it's the AI that matters so much. I think it's the actual content itself and what you want it to do. AI is going to help you produce backlink style content. It's going to help you produce SERP style expected content. It's going to help you produce what I call unexpected content, which is like, content like we talked about, like this fantasy stuff, which is better, Marvel or DC, or which is better, Spider-Man versus Superman. It can create content like that. And that content can then be repurposed into YouTube videos and things like that, where it's going to help people my son right now is using Chat GPT to write a story. It's not going anywhere, but he's enjoying the process of taking his imagination, putting it into the AI, and creating unexpected content, like fantasy content. And it's doing a really good job. And then my daughter had a go of it, and she's 10, and she was using image creation to bring some of her imagination to life, because she can't draw that way yet. So you've got these sort of 3 areas of AI content. So to answer the question from Ahmad, there's a lot more than just content that goes into SEO. There's a lot of other ranking factors, and that's part of it. And I think we've still got to try and churn out the best content we possibly can that meets the search intent for SEO purposes. But also, there's other ways to rank for those keywords. You don't necessarily always have to, you could go after a keyword and create something completely unexpected that matches the search intent in a different way, but is unique, adds value to the search engines. And there's a large argument that Google's looking for new content to add to its knowledge graph, and AI can help you create that. But also you have to bring the ideas in from another angle. So it's going to make productive SEOs more productive. And I think that's my takeaway from that anyway.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you touched on a point there as well, which was quite interesting, Andy, is it's enjoyable. Have fun with it as well. Learning doesn't necessarily have to be so brutal all the time. But, we said before that when we were waiting for the webinar to start, so we've all enjoyed playing with AI in certain ways and trying new things and trying to push the boundaries of it. So always, don't be scared to go in there and have some fun as well. Don't just look at it as a tool that you have to use for important things all the time. Go in and have some fun, write a story, get it to make some silly pictures for you. Don't let your creativity be limited by yourself. Allow AI to express some of that creativity for you, which kind of leads me quite nicely into the next question as well. So in terms of quality, there's some concerns around AI generated content being too generic. Again, maybe a reflection of the people that are writing the briefs for it. But how can SEOs maintain a unique and distinct voice while still benefiting from the efficiency and speed of AI-powered writing?
So first of all, I agree with what you said, that most of AI content that I've seen in my life is generic, has nothing inside, is empty. And this is what we see on LinkedIn, that everybody says like, oh, we're safe because like all the AI content that we've seen so far, like nothing to be worried about. I agree, like for one reason, like all the tools out there, like that are out there, they're basically a front end to ChatGPT. Which doesn't do the research for people. So if you go to ChatGPT or any other tool, like I will not give names there, but if you ask a question like, write me an outline for this and this topic, they will write you an outline, but it's not based on data. So the more data you will put in, the more valuable content you have. Like, and if you want to make it explicit for you, like you have to add additional data, like tone of voice, for example, like information about your company. Like I have a good trick with tone of voice, because like if I asked like probably 50 people to define their tone of voice, and most of them said like business, professional, a little bit funny. Like, so more or less like 4 words, 5 words, like this is the tone of voice definition, which means like nothing. So what I like to do, I like to reverse engineer it. For example, I like to ask ChatGPT for helping me out with defining my tone of voice and giving it, like, for example, 2,000 words of my article. And based on that, like I'm getting like 2 sentences, more or less, or 3 sentences of tone of voice that I can work on. But like defining it from scratch is really hard. So the more things you will define in the briefs, whatever, in prompts, briefs, whatever you do with ChatGPT, the more it will be yours. Like it will sound like you want it to be sound. So, but remember also, like when you're structuring prompts, remember to structure it as for a human. Like treat AI as a human. So don't do a data dump. Like structure it. Like here's my tone of voice. Here's like additional information what I want. Here's something, and here's a data dump of all the data that I found on this specific topic. It's basically the same how you do it with a human. You don't do a data dump like these are all the websites that I found. Do something with that. Like structure it. The more you will find a way to structure the whole thing, the better the results will be. And this is how I would approach it.
It's interesting, that is. For those who follow me on LinkedIn, I have a newsletter. It's 17,000 subscribers. I publish every week, and I for a long time I struggled to write. It was taking 2-3 hours on a Sunday, and no one wants to do that on a Sunday morning. And what I discovered is I thought, right, okay, well, how do I get AI to produce thought leadership? And it took me quite some time to figure out that, okay, so my thoughts and my knowledge that I'm picking up when I'm looking at websites and case studies and things like that, it doesn't have to be me that formats it and fills it out to make it a thing. As long as I can give GPT the actual information, my unique version of things, it can do an awful thing. So, for example, I don't. There's websites that it already stands. If I'm examining, say, the spruce, it will be able to. It knows what that website is. It knows who the details. It knows who the owner is. I don't need to tell that. I can tell it to write a section about it. I can tell it to tell me about who owns it, and yeah, all I have to do is a check. So what I found is by condensing my knowledge and giving it my knowledge, but also I still have to tell it how to deliver it. So, but that prompt, once I write that prompt once in that section, I can go and copy and paste that and add it to a new prompt for a new edition and retrain it. And I found that it does forget, and I have to go and retrain it as well, and I have to give it that personalization. But in actual fact, it works far better and far more efficiently. Now, it still can take me quite a bit of time to do the newsletter because I've got images to add and I go out and polish it. But what was a 3-hour task, I can turn into a 1.5-hour task. And some editions I've been able to turn into like 20 minutes, and where rather than 3 hours, because it just depends on what the takeaway is and how ChatGPT. It doesn't do it perfect every time, but it's an emerging science. But I have found it gives me hours back. And if you compound those hours, you've got like a day, a month extra, and then you're still producing value as a result. But then it's still me, it's still my voice, it's still my tone of voice, it's still my style, and it's still my information. It's just doing a lot of the formatting and filler content for me.
I might have one trick for you, because you've mentioned that you sometimes need to retrain it because it forgets the things. The trick is, because like the limit of 32,000 tokens, like I don't know what kind of GPT are you using. It's not for it is for one prompt, but you have to look at one prompt as the whole conversation, because what ChatGPT does, it sends every single time when you ask, it sends like the whole conversation to it. It has no memory of whatsoever. Like you don't have to, there is no memory. What you see on the chat, it doesn't know about it. Every single time when you ask it, it sends the whole chat with it. So the limit of 32,000 tokens is for the whole chat. So that's why, like, when you have a long discussion with ChatGPT, it starts to do weird stuff and it forgets about the things that are like a little bit up in the discussion, because like it basically doesn't have the memory.
Do you know what? That's actually, I mean, this webinar's been worth it for me already.
Yeah, brilliant. We all every day's a school day.
And that's the thing. It is every day's a school day. We're all learning on this. So thank you. I'm moving on to the next question, Tom. I mean, this is a similar sort of question. What do you think the future of AI prompts and SEO as a technology evolves is? Where do you see prompt engineering and prompting going? What does that future look like as all the AI models improve?
So basically, AI is a large language model. So like it's great with analyzing language. Like this is it. Like it's simple as that. When it answers one word for the time. Like so basically there's one word and then another one and another one. What you have to understand, like in my opinion, like the future of AI will be a combination of tools that we saw so far. For example, like Ahrefs, SEMrush, and other data-driven tools combining AI like with data. So basically, large language model is responsible for analyzing and making decisions, but you have to feed it with data. And we will see a lot of opportunities there to find this combination of providing data in a structured way with AI. I think prompting as is will be used in the next 1 to 2 years, but we will see more and more tools that will structure the prompt somehow. So like we as SEOwind, we try to do it as much as possible. We try to feed it with doing the research, like for a user, something that you would normally have to do manually. But I think there will be more and more tools that will basically, based on the data that they want, structure the data for the input for the prompt, because the prompts will be huge. Like they will be extremely big. For me, if like when we're writing a 3,000 word article, we're prompting it with 7,000 words. If I would choose from the beginning to write a prompt 7,000 words or write an article, I have a clear answer. I'm going for the article from the scratch. So there will be, the prompts will get bigger, like a lot bigger with more definitions inside. But then, so for example, we would be able to do taxes, but the only thing that we need to do is we need to feed the actual law into AI. So like, this is it. Like there will be a tool that will feed a specific law, tax law, into AI to do the taxes for you.
That's interesting, because I know that OpenAI is just releasing their, I've talked yesterday about their enterprise model, which I think goes from 7,000 characters in a prompt or something like that to something like 23 or 30 odd thousand. So it massively expands the ability to prompt, and you can sort of see on a productivity level that once you have the prompt that's really good, eventually the prompt itself is the value, because you can put it in and your output. And I could imagine that I mean, I know one started, but I can see prompt marketplaces becoming a bigger thing.
But again, like the biggest part of the prompt is data. Like it's probably 90 something percent, and that's unique. Like in a marketplace, you will see like hash, add data here. And this is the crucial part of the prompt. So like the ask part is simple, and probably there will be marketplaces, more and more marketplaces, but still, I think there will be a lot of tools that will do that for us. We will not even know that we're using AI.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting point. It's hidden AI, but at the end of the day, we've all been doing that for years anyway, haven't we? I mean, every tool out there, Google included, is using AI, and we've just ignored it, and we don't even think about it anymore. And in a few years' time, I think that will be normalized with AI, like you say. You're just using a tool it's all exciting now, because the models are out there, and it's almost like the Wizard of Oz reality is showcased, but then everyone will forget, and before you know, it's back to the Wizard of Oz. And we'll just carry on using the tools, and we won't think about AI because it's just the way it is. So yeah, that's a great answer, Tom. Thank you for that.
Yeah, brilliant, great answer. And sort of about, while we're touching on the sort of compliance of things, what tips have you got, or what knowledge do you have around how AI can work effectively with things like GDPR compliance in mind?
So I'm not an expert in law, but what I see, like right now with ChatGPT, I know that we don't know what ChatGPT does with our data, and it's really hard to say. Like, so I would say it's not GDPR compliant for sure, especially for enterprise customers. If you want to use ChatGPT to share certain knowledge with it, then like that you shouldn't, then like be careful. If you're using it for just AI writing, I don't see a problem with GDPR compliance, because you're doing the research. Like if you're not sharing your data, I don't see any problem with GDPR compliance there. But there are a couple of models right now that are coming out. So for example, Llama 2, which is made by Meta, so old Facebook. It's a model that you can run on premises on your own machine. And basically, because it's closed in the box, all of a sudden you can actually analyze documents. So for example, I would be able to segregate millions of documents inside the company, because like using Llama, I would turn every document to a vector of, let's say, 4,000 dimensions. And then I will start to compare them to each other by comparing vectors. And I can do it using Llama on premises, probably according to GDPR. Like, again, I'm not a lawyer, because it's closed in the box, and I know that this data is not getting anywhere else.
Brilliant, yeah, interesting. I think it still has some way to come to be sort of fully out the box compliant with GDPR, etc. But
yes, but like you have to think about it only if you're sharing the data with AI. In most cases, when you're talking about content writing, either way, you want to publish it. Like, so it has to be GDPR compliant if you want to publish it online, because it will be visible to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so curate it anyway afterwards and make sure that it is compliant. And like you say, just don't dump it in and expect it to do all the work for you at this stage.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, it rolls straight wonderfully into this next question. You got the law. That's one thing. You got ethics is another, because and I think it is an interesting one in terms of data privacy, authenticity, and things like that. Now, it's this is quite a broad question, and we'll probably touch base after it a little bit more. But what are the ethical considerations people should have when creating prompts in terms of privacy, data, authenticity? What's your view on that?
So like I've talked with many people about it. Like that's a topic that comes like around every so often. And mainly people are concerned with like scraping data from others, going through it and then producing AI content. And we don't know exactly where we're taking the data from, but we're scraping it. We're just rewriting it somehow, like which might be a problem with IP rights. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but like I don't think the process of creating such content is any different from creating the content using human writers, as an example. Because like if a human writer writes about a topic, they don't know, like they're not an expert in all the fields possible from top of their head. Like they didn't do a cutting edge research or anything. They didn't come up with all the things that they are writing about. Most of them, they go to Google, they go to search results, see like what competition is talking about, compiles like competition, like they use their outlines as kind of puzzles, put them together, read what they say, like, and rewrite it in a way that fits their need. In my opinion, that's already creating value because they are talking about the topic from a different angle. They're like taking different aspects of different things and they're talking about it from a different angle. Working with AI is no different, but it's like a little bit faster, like a lot faster. But it's basically the same process as a human that is a content writer takes when they are writing about the topic. So the ethical question is, should we do something also with humans writing about specific topics in the way they are writing the specific about it? Of course, if we can add information about like sources of data, that's awesome. That would be really great. Don't be afraid of linking to your competitors sometimes if you're taking something from them. But like in my opinion, from ethical perspective, it's no different than writing with humans.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a few questions about in the chat I can see coming in about writing, about authenticity, and like ranking, and will it harm the rankings? As somebody, I've managed quite a large content team. I've been buying content for years. I've been writing content for years, and I don't think, generally speaking, the wider public understand how it's done. So I had a chat a couple of years ago with a writer. She was churning out 7,000 to 9,000 words a day in blog content, being paid a very small amount by the company to do that. Now, when we talk about ethics, she's literally exhausted and she ended up having a breakdown. She's a human being, yet she was churning out very low quality content, and she admitted it was because that was what was required of her, because the content cost. People were paying like $20 for a piece of content, and if you've ever paid $20 or $10 for a piece of content like I have, there's you get back a piece of content that can't possibly be well researched. It isn't. What someone's done is, as quick as possible, is gone and grabbed some research or grabbed some content on the internet, read it, spun something up together, done it in a way that's probably got more fluff than actual detail in there to try and get around it. And that's the truth, because they have to add more fluff in it, because very often writers are paid by the word count. And there's a lot of ethics around that. And for me, moving forward with AI content, yes, it makes people more productive. And also, it's, curating content is something that people do. It's been done for years in SEO. You take all the articles, what's missing, you collate all the best bits together, you add a bit more to it, and people keep doing this skyscraping approach, which is what it is. Skyscraping has been going on for years and years and years, and eventually now we're skyscraping until we reach the point where content is like super long and uninteresting, and now we're going down the route of the topical authority sites, which are creating content which is thinner but also straight more to the point and almost robotic in nature. So from an ethical point of view, I don't think we've been doing it great for the last 10 years in SEO, and I think from an ethics point of view, we did what we could. And that's the other danger, in terms of there's a lot of content out there that AI can make better. there's a lot of content that was written and ranked by poorly trained, poorly paid writers who did very limited research because they had very limited time that ranks. And you can go and create better quality content to that with AI trained on a larger data set. And actually you can fact check it afterwards and it'll be bang on and be better in all areas. So I think from an ethic point of view, there's actually another battle where AI can be more ethical than the way we've done it in the past, and also allow writers to enjoy a better quality of life where they're not slaving away trying to create 9,000 words by the word, but in actual fact they can craft really good quality content, make sure it's factual, add things into it as well afterwards, and save time in the process, and probably get paid more as a result, because we shift from the by the word model to actually the output model. And I think that's, the inputs and outputs model is very different. So I think from an ethical point of view, we've got a lot of gain to be made by using AI and integrating it with content.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. And you've touched on a great point there as well about burnout, and how a writer would have to be churning out so many words, and the sort of pressures that this would put on them, low quality content coming out from essentially high volumes of input. So sort of segueing into the next question here, moving away from ethics and stuff a little bit. For that professional there, let's say they're slaving away and they're writing these pieces of content. Let's assume that not everybody in the chat is an AI expert at this point, and there's some that maybe are just entering their AI sort of knowledge base and just starting to find their feet of it. So for those professionals who are new to using AI for content creation, what are some practical steps or tools that they could start with to experiment with AI prompts and gradually integrate them into their existing workflows to kind of avoid burnout and things like this?
So first of all, I would say go to ChatGPT and start prompting, because so many people are talking about using ChatGPT, but they never used it, or they used it twice and they have an opinion. You can't have an opinion after using it twice. So do it every single day. If you train for a marathon, you run, you don't just think about doing a 4-hour marathon. You actually have to go out and run. It's the same with prompting. So the more used to it you will get, the better prompts you will create. There's few people in marketing that actually could do briefs because most of the people wouldn't be able to write an actual brief, as I mentioned, for writing creating a logo. So the same goes with prompting. This skill of writing something that is, you see certain things give you better results is good. So you have to keep the consistency of similar prompting ways. As Andy mentioned, you have saved prompts, because if you see something is working, repeat it and make it better. If you write every single prompt from scratch, you can't make it better, because you don't know what worked in this one, you don't know what didn't work in the previous one. There are plenty of add-ons for Chrome, so you can actually add an add-on for Chrome. I don't exactly remember the name of it, but you can add it, and then you can save your prompts in Chrome. So every single time you can reuse the similar ones. You can make some small changes. I like to make some small tweaks to see if something will work differently, but save them. Have a library of prompts that you're using. Don't write them every single time, because it's just wasting of your time, and it will not be consistent. One time it will be awesome, the other time it will be really, really bad. But I encourage everybody just to test it out and try to use it as much as possible. I've talked with one entrepreneur. She said that I need to do this and this in ChatGPT, and I asked her did you try to do it? And she's like, no, I don't have time for the research. It's no, it will not work this way. You have to learn how it works. Don't be afraid. It's very helpful. I love ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one of my best friends, just because it's always happy to answer, and it's always smiling, kind of it's very happy to help me out. It's not asking a colleague will you help me out with that, and they are saying you know what, I don't have time this week. No, ChatGPT will help you out. Whatever you want from them, it will help you out.
It certainly doesn't procrastinate, does it? It's a great tool. I think it's my best friend as well.
It's my only friend.
That's a problem.
You know, I mean, we don't want to get into the world of AI girlfriends and boyfriends. Because we all know that's coming somewhere. Okay, so I mean, this is a big one that I think about long, quite interesting, and it's a concern in terms of we are, as SEOs, we shape the internet in a large quantity of the internet. It's shaped by SEO behavior. Google takes action in relation to the activities of SEOs to help us make a better, to help the internet be better. So how do you think AI is going to, how do you think it's going to change the way that the internet is in the future?
That's a hard one. Like nobody knows. Like I think this is a question that Google has right now every single day, and I wouldn't like to be on their place, to be honest. Like because answering this question is pretty tough, and it's directly connected to their business model. But it will speed up like the whole work that it can do. So when we remember when the engine was built, like earlier horses tried to like use their muscles, and horses were exchanged into the engines. I can see that most of the things that we do and are repetitive, they will be extinct because like AI will take it over. If something is repetitive, it will it will not exist anymore. With the whole internet, like we can see already a change in how Google is reacting. Google tries to give more answers, direct answers, no-click answers in Google, and I think it will move like even further. But in my opinion, Google can't cut off the source of data. Because, for example, in e-commerce, like what will happen? Google will become Amazon. Like for sure, this will be a marketplace where you will begin and end the customer journey in Google. Like this is what will happen in the next few years. But they can't do it with SEO because they will lose. There's no incentive on producers, like content producers side, of creating content because they will be left with nothing. Google will answer the question, and at some point they have to think about, but who will give me new answers? Like where are we taking the data from? And somebody asked here how also internet will look like if OpenAI will train on their own data. I don't think it will train only on data created by OpenAI because GPT doesn't stop the research part. Still, like we have to do the research. We have special matter experts that add on top of the content. So what I would encourage all of you, if you're creating content with AI, don't think that you will create content using one button and you will click it and that's all. In this case, like most of the people will not be needed. I think as special matter experts, you have to put in value on top of that. Add your opinions, add your expertise. AI doesn't have the expertise that you have because it doesn't go through all the situations that you have on daily basis with your customers. So add this value on top. This is how you can create helpful content. AI, in my opinion, can focus on the search intent and it will do hell of a job. But what you can do is add like video where you explain exactly why you think it's different, and other stuff that will help out AI. If we think that AI will be the end solution for creating content, no, I don't think so. There will be research. There will be a lot of things on top of that. And there will be whole opinion making, like because there's different opinions.
Definitely
That's
are.
great. Yeah, I mean, I really like that answer. I think we have to also go back to the original internet, what it was built for, which was for people to share information between scientists and people like that, and share. And so there's a lot of people out there creating new knowledge and new information out there and adding it to the internet as well. So I don't think ChatGPT or any AI solution will end the internet, but I do think how we use it might differ.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question kind of inspired here a little bit by what Craig has just put into the chat there. So I'll slightly modify my question here to hopefully satisfy his question there a little bit more. But what are the advantages of using AI prompts, and how can they contribute to better search engine rankings and user engagement?
So like from the perspective of Google, I think like
Yeah.
Google will be able to answer more questions like with non-click answers. But like from our perspective, I think we have to focus on the search intent. And this is where we will be better than most AI because it's a language model. Like we can actually do more research and help out to focus on the search intent. I don't know if I exactly answered the question, but like this is my opinion where it's heading.
No,
No, I think
I get
yeah,
that answer.
yeah. I think it's still early days yet, so we're still monitoring and seeing how it's going to work.
I give a very quick, I know we're probably coming to the end there in a second, but a very quick example of that, Tom. So I used it to produce a piece of content the other day, and I actually put it back into it chat and said, hey, what are we missing from this piece of content? And it says, you're missing examples. It couldn't give examples of the things that it was talking about. Pardon me. So there's an example that the better the human element is, I've got to go and get the examples to put in there and make this content even better. It couldn't do it without me.
Because like from my perspective, I use ChatGPT as a co-writer. So like I'm doing pair writing kind of.
Yeah.
It's a person that like I'm often too close to the elephant to see like the whole picture. And sometimes like if there's a new perspective, like it's easier to find certain things. I'm using ChatGPT for like just talking to it and finding new solutions, as you mentioned.
Brilliant, brilliant. Andy, we've probably got time for one more question if you want to select one from your list, which you think would be most most engaging.
Let's have a very quick look.
Just to remind everybody that we do have a poll running still, so please click on that and answer the question on there if you haven't done so yet. It was a good question that came up in the questions here, and it was something that I certainly do as well. And maybe I'll speak for you both as well. But do you thank ChatGPT after you're finished with it? Are you polite with your AI tools?
Like I'm always saying like dear ChatGPT, or like I'm really trying to be as friendly as possible. Because for me it's a colleague. Like I treat it as a teammate. Like so I try not to. Yeah, I try to be as good to it as possible, and I think it's just worth it. Like let's not treat it as a slave.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time in the last webinar, I said you never know when they might start to get autonomous thinking, and remember the polite ones versus the
exactly. We're the nice ones.
So I'm hedging my bets from early doors. So thank you, ChatGPT. Thank you very much.
Okay, Tom. One question here from the list I think would be beneficial. Give me some best practices in a nutshell of structuring prompts. Tell me, what are the 5 best practices that you can come up with that people can come away from this webinar with to structure better prompts this afternoon.
So like you have to define, like first of all, define your goal. What do you want to achieve? Define define the whole input. Like, so what you need to input as the resource to GPT, so it knows exactly what's the output. If you're thinking that ChatGPT will make decisions for you, I think it's not worth it. Like often, I think you can make better decisions like with the strategy. So like define exactly what ChatGPT would need to get the output. Add tone of voice, and define the tone of voice. Tone of voice is not 2, 3, 4 words, but it's actually something that if you give to a human, they will understand how to write for you. Add any kind of data. Like if you have any data that you want it to be used, add the data there. What else? Maybe you can help me out with something.
I mean, from personal, I actually think experimentation is one of the things, in terms of you get your prompt optimization, prompt experimentation, and think outside the box. you've got all those great elements that you've said. What else can you throw in there? You know, it might be along the lines of, you know, you want to create some content in the, you know, want to write in the style of Neil Gaiman and train it a little bit on Neil Gaiman's style, or it might be that you want to try be, you know, a writer from a certain blog or a certain type that's not in your industry, and see what happens there. The thing with chat is it an AI is it produces so much content, you can afford the time to experiment to see what you can get better. And the other thing is I think you should look at it and say, what can I add to this? Not necessarily the prompt afterwards. What can I do to make this better? And better is a subjective experience as well. So, and that's what I think means that we're still going to turn out unique content anyway.
So for example, whenever you see that the output is not reaching your goals, like ask yourself what you did wrong to define it in a bit, like how you can improve the definition. So this is what I do. Like, so for example, if I work with humans, if they make a mistake, I always ask myself, what did I do wrong? So they made the mistake. Like, I'm not blaming them for that. AI is also not to blame. Like most of the outputs that we're having, if they're not matching our expectations, that means that we have plenty of space for experimentation.
AI should be able to give you a feedback to us mode. So it tells us whether the prompt was good or bad and trains us. AI training us is the future. That's what's going to happen.
Possibly.
Maybe so. Maybe it already is. Who knows? I imagine, like all AI, there'll be an AI tool for that, and you'll be able to find it, and there'll be an AI tool for managing that, and an AI tool for managing that. So, yeah. Well, look, I think that's a great point to end this, you know, webinar here today. I think we've had some great feedback there from Tom. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. Everybody in the chat who would like to learn more about Tom, they can find him on LinkedIn at Tom Winter, and they can check out his website, SEOwind.io. That's wind, WIND.io. The same for Andy Holland there. Follow him on LinkedIn. Look out for his weekly newsletter on all things SEO. Follow him for daily tips. Anything else you want to add to that, Andy?
No, I think you've got that. We've also got the All You Can Eat newsletter at JBH, which is, if you're interested in SEO, please sign up for that newsletter, because that's giving you SEO, digital PR tips. It's all about eat. You know, what Google's all about these days is eat. So sign up for that newsletter. It's free. It's in your inbox every couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's great. The edition came out today. Read through that. Fantastic insight from digital PR manager James Renhard from JBH today. Just looking over at the poll then. So I asked you all to have a look at the poll beforehand, and the question was, how confident are you in crafting effective AI prompts for SEO purposes? So only 3.7% of you think that you're very confident. Hopefully today you've learned a little bit more in terms of confidence in your abilities and playing and trying things out. 60% of you are somewhat confident, which is good to see. It means that you've been experimenting with the tools, you've been starting to work it out, trying to find your ways of prompting. And there's 37% there that are, nearly 38% are not confident at all. But Tom, what would be your final parting words for those that are not confident with AI prompting?
I would say, like, don't be hesitant. Try it for yourself. See how much it can help you out with what you're doing on a daily basis. Because I believe that 50% of your work that you're currently doing actually at this point can be like helped with ChatGPT or like similar tools. So just try it. Like, just don't be hesitant to try it and see it for yourself.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Andy, have you got anything final thoughts to add?
Pretty much. I mean, to be honest with you, that's the thing. We're in just exactly what Tom said. Try it. I mean, literally, there's you don't know. A lot of people, what they're doing is they're putting something into AI and getting out rubbish and thinking, "Oh, that's it. AI doesn't work," and we're getting the anti-AI brigade. Whereas what you can do, AI is about productivity. Keep trying, keep changing things, and you never know what you're going to get back. Experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment. This is uncharted territory for humans as it is. So, you know, it's up to us to go out there and use these tools and make better work.
Brilliant. And yeah, so thanks everybody for joining us today on this webinar. Keep your eyes out for the next Renaissance, which will be coming in the next month or so. yeah, it's been a pleasure to have Tom on board. Thank you very much. Andy, thanks as always for joining us. And to everybody out there, remember, be polite to your AI, because you just never know. You just never know.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care, everyone, and see you on the next one. Cheers.